What you call prayer is a lie. Every word you've been taught to recite is sabotaging your life. There's a 1,500-year-old manuscript that the church didn't want you to know about. The Gospel of the Lots of Mary, deciphered at Princeton, exposes the deception. When you ask God for something, you're telling the universe that you don't deserve to have it. Think about this. You ask for health because you feel sick. You beg for money because you feel poor. You plead for love because you feel alone. And the field, this intelligence that permeates everything, doesn't listen to your words. It feels your frequency, and it obeys. Feeling is prayer. It's not what your mouth pronounces, but what your heart transmits. The monks don't ask for anything during their endless chants. They feel as if they've already received it. Now pay attention, because this will change how you understand your life. While you were watching this video and feeling the lack of something, you were commanding the universe to keep it away from you. What are you really feeling right now?
The history of human spirituality, especially as it was practiced in the early centuries of the Christian era, is often portrayed as a journey of passive faith and moral submission. However, recent archaeological discoveries challenge this linear narrative, revealing a much more complex and technical reality. There's a fundamental distinction between institutionalized religion, which manages the behavior of the masses, and the original spiritual science, which focused on obtaining tangible results. Those who hold power in ancient and modern societies have always operated through a specific technology of consciousness. While millions pray asking for prosperity, a restricted group feels gratitude for the abundance they already possess, even before seeing it materialize. The difference between these two groups lies in a technical instruction that was deliberately removed from biblical texts in the 4th century. Max Planck identified the mechanism when he discovered that all matter emerges from a conscious and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter, he concluded. Planck's unified field responds to a specific language, the electromagnetic signature generated when thought and emotion merge in the human heart. In 2019, Professor Anne-Marie Louis-Yendick deciphered a 1,500-year-old codex that shattered all academic expectations. The Gospel of the Lots of Mary doesn't narrate biographies or sermons. Its pages operate as oracular technology with 37 texts strategically written to eliminate mental duality. Oracle 24 commands: stop having two minds about future events. Oracle 34 orders: go forward immediately under divine authority. The manuscript reveals humanity's fundamental error, asking for what's missing. When you ask for rain, you strengthen the drought. When you plead for peace, you feed the conflict. The divine matrix mirrors exactly what you emanate, not your words, but the electromagnetic quality of your feeling. Gregg Braden decoded parallel instructions in the Gospel of Thomas, verse 106. When you make thought and emotion one thing in a single house, you will say to the mountain, "Move," and it will move. The text describes the exact mechanics. Thought provides the image, and emotion provides the fuel. United, they generate the command that matters and are obeyed. The human heart produces an electromagnetic field 60 times greater than the brain. Each heartbeat transmits an encoded message to the field. When David, a Navajo shaman, prayed for rain in the New Mexico desert, he didn't ask for water. He felt the mud between his toes, the smell of rain on the adobe walls, and the sensation of moisture on his skin. In less than 24 hours, the rain came. The original Aramaic version of John 16:23-24 instructed, "Ask without hidden motive and be surrounded by the answer." Later editions suppressed, "Be surrounded," exactly the technical key. You must envelop yourself with the feeling of the desired reality until your joy is complete in the present, not in the future. The Gospel of the Lots of Mary, dated to the 6th century, contained no parables, miracles, or moral teachings. Its 160 pages reveal a systematic spiritual technology for accessing direct answers through the elimination of mental conflict. The manuscript operates through 37 oracles written in deliberately vague language, designed for divine synchronicity. The seeker would approach the book's keeper in moments of existential anguish. The process began with a random selection. Dice were thrown, pages were opened at random, allowing synchronicity to determine which oracle would offer the solution. The book's owner acted as a technical mediator, interpreting the encoded wisdom for the specific situation. Oracle 24 contains the central instruction: do not have two minds about whether something will happen or not. It will happen. Have courage. Joy and happiness will remain with you for a long time. The language eliminates any possibility of doubt. The text doesn't suggest or recommend. It commands absolute certainty as a technical prerequisite for manifestation. Oracle 34 intensifies this approach. Go forward immediately. God has commanded it. The suffering you've had doesn't matter, for you have reached the haven of victory. The expression, haven of victory, describes a state of consciousness where the outcome already exists before physical manifestation. The manuscript establishes that reaching this haven depends exclusively on the ability to maintain a unified mind. Luyendyk identified that the oracular system functioned as an interface between human consciousness and what the text calls divine authority. Each oracle contained 3 structural elements. First, the elimination of doubt. Second, the categorical affirmation of the result. And third, the instruction to act immediately from that certainty. The manuscript reveals that early Christians practiced divination as a legitimate method of accessing higher wisdom, a practice that radically contradicts later theology. The term gospel literally means good news. This specific gospel redefines the concept. The good news isn't about future salvation, but about the present human capacity to access victory through the elimination of internal conflict. The text treats mental duality as a technical obstacle to manifestation, not as a moral or spiritual issue. In parallel, the Gospel of Thomas, discovered at Nag Hammadi, provides the complementary mechanics. Verse 48 establishes, "If two make peace in a single house, they will say to the mountain, 'Move,' and it will move." The house represents the human body, where thought and emotion must establish peace, eliminate contradiction. Verse 106 expands, "When you make the two one, you will become sons of man, and when you say, 'Mountain, move,' it will move." The repetition of the mountain metaphor in both verses indicates technical importance. Mountains represent apparently immovable obstacles in physical reality. The power to move them arises exclusively from internal unification, when thought and emotion stop contradicting each other. Gregg Braden identifies this process as inner technology, a set of precise instructions for manipulating matter through consciousness. Early Christianity preserved multiple systems for eliminating mental duality. The Gnostics described the process as making the masculine and the feminine one thing. Jesus, according to Thomas, instructed, "When you transform two into one and make the interior like the exterior, and the exterior like the interior, then you will enter the kingdom." The kingdom doesn't designate a posthumous location, but a state of consciousness immediately accessible. The suppression of these texts in the 4th century coincides with the standardization of the biblical canon under Constantine. Moralizing narratives replaced the technical instructions. Prayer transformed from inner technology into external supplication. The knowledge that feeling is creating gave way to the belief that asking is waiting. The Gospel of the Lots of Mary survived because its oracular function kept it in continuous use in remote Christian communities in Egypt. While other texts were destroyed or hidden, this manuscript continued to be secretly consulted by those who needed direct answers, not sermons or parables, but technical solutions to concrete problems. The revolutionary implication of these manuscripts lies in the revelation that original Christianity taught conscious manifestation through the elimination of doubt. It wasn't about blind faith, but about consciousness engineering, the systematic application of unified mental states to produce predictable physical results. The oracles provided the psychological trigger necessary to achieve this unification, functioning as synchronicity technology that aligned individual consciousness with what the texts call divine will, the natural flow of manifestation when mental resistance ceases. The central instruction of the ancient oracles attacks the fundamental problem of manifestation, the divided mind. When you oscillate between "it will happen" and "maybe it won't happen," you transmit two contradictory frequencies to the unified field that cancel each other out. The result is manifest paralysis. Your desires remain suspended in the realm of possibility without ever crystallizing into matter. Oracle 24 of the Gospel of the Lots of Mary establishes the technical protocol. First, identify where hesitation exists. Second, completely eliminate the possibility of failure from the mental equation. And third, sustain certainty until joy becomes permanent. The word permanent indicates that the emotional state must persist regardless of external appearances. Quantum physics confirms this principle through the collapse of the wave function. Before observation, all possibilities exist simultaneously. The act of observing with specific intention collapses infinite possibilities into a single reality. Mental duality keeps multiple possibilities active, preventing definitive collapse. The unified mind forces collapse in a specific direction. Oracle 34 adds the temporal element. Go forward immediately. Hesitation reintroduces doubt. Every second of delay allows the mind to reconstruct alternative scenarios. Immediate action seals the quantum decision before mental oscillation can restart. The ancients understood that the window between decision and manifestation must be filled with directed movement. Gregg Braden documented this phenomenon while studying Tibetan prayer traditions. The monks don't ask for healing. They see the body already healed. They don't plead for peace. They feel peace already established. The difference between asking and thanking represents opposite poles of the manifest spectrum. Asking reinforces absence. Thanking confirms presence. Neuroscience has identified that the brain processes approximately 60,000 thoughts per day, with 80% being repetitions of previous patterns. The dual mind arises from this internal cacophony where contradictory voices constantly compete. One part believes in success, while another anticipates failure. One visualizes abundance, while another calculates scarcity. The unification process requires what the Ascends called communion, not conversation with external forces, but internal alignment between the fragmented aspects of consciousness. The Essene Gospel of Peace preserves the instruction, in the moment between inhalation and exhalation, all mysteries are hidden. That moment represents the balance point where dualities temporarily cease. The Sufi tradition offers a complementary perspective. Rumi wrote, "Sell your cleverness and buy bewilderment." Cleverness represents the calculating mind that weighs probabilities. Bewilderment describes the state before judgment, where all options remain equally valid. From this neutral state, a single intention can emerge without internal opposition. The concept of haven of victory in Oracle 34 deserves deep analysis. A haven offers natural protection from storms. Metaphorically, it represents a state of consciousness protected from the storms of doubt. Reaching this haven doesn't mean escaping from the world, but establishing an unshakable center of certainty within apparent chaos. Experiments at the HeartMath Institute demonstrated that when the heart enters coherence, a regular and harmonious rhythm, the brain automatically synchronizes. Cardiac coherence emerges when emotions like gratitude, appreciation, or love are sustained for specific periods. These emotions naturally eliminate duality because they cannot coexist with their opposites. The instruction not to have two minds translates physiologically as coherence between the three neural processing centers: the brain, the heart, and the enteric system. When these three brains transmit the same message, the human electromagnetic field amplifies exponentially. This amplification is detectable meters away from the body, creating what the ancients called presence. Eliminating duality doesn't mean suppressing negative thoughts through willpower. Trying not to think about something guarantees its persistence. The correct method involves saturating consciousness with the chosen reality until no psychic space remains for alternatives. Just as a glass full of water cannot simultaneously contain air, a mind filled with certainty cannot harbor doubt. The technical secret lies in the sequence: first, irrevocable decision; second, feeling corresponding to the decision; and third, action aligned with the feeling. When these three elements operate in synchrony, manifestation becomes inevitable. The unified field cannot respond any other way except by mirroring unified certainty. The super-rich intuit or learn this principle early. They don't wait to have money to feel prosperous. They feel prosperity before seeing the numbers. They don't wait for opportunities to act with confidence. They act with the certainty that opportunities will arise. The unified mind creates a gravitational field that attracts corresponding circumstances. Verse 106 of the Gospel of Thomas contains the fundamental equation of manifestation. When you make thought and emotion one force, you will say to the mountain, "Move," and it will move. Gregg Braden spent 2 decades decoding this instruction through comparative analyses between Aramaic texts, experiences with indigenous communities, and validation through modern quantum physics. Thought provides the matrix, the specific mental image of the desired result. You visualize the new job, the healed relationship, and the healthy body. But thought alone is powerless. Millions visualize wealth daily without ever manifesting it. The missing component is emotion, the energetic fuel that imprints the mental matrix onto the unified field. Emotion doesn't mean vague sentimentality. The ancient texts referred to the measurable electromagnetic charge that the body generates when experiencing specific emotional states. The Institute of HeartMath documented that emotions like anger produce chaotic patterns in the cardiac electromagnetic field, while gratitude generates coherent and measurable waves that extend up to 3 meters beyond the physical body. When thought and emotion operate separately, you get the universal phenomenon of human frustration, knowing exactly what you want but feeling the opposite, visualizing abundance while feeling scarcity, imagining health while fearing disease. This disconnection between mind and heart sends the field 2 contradictory instructions that cancel each other out. Verse 48 offers the internal geography of the process. If 2 make peace in a single house, the house is the human body. The 2 are thought and emotion. Peace doesn't mean absence of activity, but harmonic synchronization, like 2 instruments tuned to the same frequency. Thought and emotion must vibrate in resonance. The Tibetan abbot physically demonstrated this principle. During 14 hours of daily chanting, bells, mudras, and mantras, the monks aren't asking for anything. They systematically generate the emotional state corresponding to what they choose to manifest. The instruments, incense, and body movements are auxiliary technologies for achieving and maintaining the fusion between thought and emotion. The mountain appears repeatedly as a metaphor, not by chance. Mountains represent the aspects of reality considered most solid, permanent, and unchangeable. If unified consciousness can move mountains, no lesser obstacle can resist. The ancients deliberately chose the most extreme example to eliminate mental limitations about what's possible. Jesus expanded this teaching through practical demonstrations. The canonical Gospels preserved fragments, multiplication of loaves, transmutation of water into wine, and walking on water. Each miracle demonstrated the same principle, matter-obeying consciousness, when thought and emotion operate as a single force. The technical secret is in the word make, when you make the two one. Making implies an active process, not passive waiting. You actively build the bridge between thought and emotion through deliberate practice. The Essenes developed specific protocols: fasting to clear the mind, breathing to calm emotions, and prayers to synchronize both. Modern physics validates this mechanism through quantum entanglement. When two particles become entangled, changes in one instantly affect the other, regardless of distance. Thought and emotion, when entangled, create a unified field that the physical universe must mirror. There's no choice at the quantum level, only automatic correspondence. The text specifies sons of man as the result of this unification. Son of man, in Aramaic texts, designates the human being operating at full capacity, not limited by the duality that characterizes ordinary experience. It's the state where the latent creative power in each person becomes active and directable. Medieval alchemists preserved this knowledge through symbols. The alchemical marriage between sun and moon, between sulfur and mercury, between king and queen, always represents the same operation: unification of complementary opposites within human consciousness. The resulting philosopher's stone doesn't literally transmute lead into gold. It transmutes divided consciousness into unified consciousness, which can then transmute any aspect of reality. Contemporary experiments confirm the power of this unification. When groups of meditators achieve collective coherence between thought and emotion, crime rates measurably decrease in the vicinity. The International Peace Project in the Middle East, published in the Journal of Conflict Resolution in 1988, documented 76% reductions in war crimes during specific periods of unified meditation. The final instruction is practical. Start with small mountains. Unify thought and emotion around modest results. Feel gratitude for the parking space that will appear. Experience the joy of the phone call that's coming. Build personal evidence that the technology works. Each success strengthens the ability to maintain thought and emotion unified for longer periods, moving progressively larger mountains. The divine field doesn't respond to human words. This discovery completely revolutionizes the traditional understanding of prayer. When the Tibetan abbot explained that feeling is prayer, he revealed the fundamental mechanism. The universe recognizes and responds exclusively to the electromagnetic language generated by the human heart when thought and emotion align. The divine matrix operates as an intelligent field that Max Planck identified as the mind behind all matter. This field doesn't process verbal language because words are arbitrary cultural constructions. The field responds to the specific vibrational signature that emanates from the heart, electrical and magnetic waves that carry the real information of what we feel, not what we say. The human heart generates the body's most powerful electromagnetic field. Each heartbeat, approximately 100,000 per day, transmits an encoded message to the unified field. When you pronounce "I want prosperity" while feeling fear of scarcity, the field responds to the fear, not to the words. The electromagnetic frequency of the feeling is the real command. The distinction between praying by asking and praying by being radically transforms spiritual practice. Asking for rain during a drought reinforces the perception of water scarcity. Feeling gratitude for rain as an accomplished fact transmits to the field the instruction that rain already exists. The Navajo tradition preserves this knowledge. You must feel the mud between your toes, the smell of rain on the adobe walls, and the sensation of moisture on your skin. When all senses internally agree that something already exists, the heart transmits that certainty as an electromagnetic command. When we ask for something to happen, the indigenous elders teach, we give power to what we don't have. Prayers to heal strengthen the disease because they confirm its presence. Prayers for peace intensify conflict because they start from the recognition of war. The field mirrors exactly what you transmit, not your intentions, but your dominant emotional frequency. The Essenes encoded this principle in the Gospel of Peace. The earth and everything that dwells in it is nothing but a reflection of the kingdom of the Heavenly Father. The reflection doesn't interpret or judge, it simply returns what it receives. Like a perfect quantum mirror, physical reality conforms to the quality of the feeling you sustain in your heart. The original Aramaic translation of John 16:23-24 preserves instructions that were deliberately suppressed. Ask without hidden motives and be surrounded by your answer. Envelop yourself with what you desire so that your joy may be complete. The text doesn't say, wait for the answer, or believe it will come. It commands you to envelop yourself now with the feeling of the desired reality. Asking from within the name, as the Aramaic text specifies, means completely inhabiting the desired state before its physical manifestation. It's the fundamental difference between observing something externally and being totally immersed in it. The name represents the field of infinite possibilities. Asking from within means already vibrating at the frequency of the answer. St. Catherine of Siena understood these mechanics when she stated, "The force that created the unimaginable splendors has taken refuge in us and will follow our commands." The universal creative power responds to the commands of the human heart, but only when we speak through the silent language of unified feeling. The Nag Hammadi manuscripts reinforce, if you bring forth what is within you, it will save you. The power is already present internally, awaiting activation through the correct quality of feeling. It doesn't come from outside through supplications. It emerges from within when you generate gratitude for the answer already received. The process requires complete sensory saturation, internally seeing the result, hearing the associated sounds, feeling the textures, experiencing the aromas. When all senses agree that something already exists, the heart accepts it as reality and transmits that certainty to the field. Each additional sense amplifies the coherence of the transmission. Quantum physics confirms that the act of observing with a specific expectation collapses probability waves into particles of matter. But the emotional quality of observation determines the direction of the collapse. Observing with gratitude collapses possibilities in the direction of what is appreciated. Observing with fear materializes what is feared. Experiments documented in the Journal of Conflict Resolution demonstrated that when groups maintain the feeling of peace already established, not asking for peace but feeling it present, violence indices measurably decrease in the vicinity. During the windows of unified meditation in the Middle East, war crimes drastically reduced. When the sessions ended, violence returned because the feeling of peace ceased. The technical secret that the super-rich master, consciously or intuitively, they feel prosperity before seeing numbers in accounts. They maintain gratitude for unmanifested successes. They emotionally inhabit the reality they choose to create. The unified field, operating as a neutral quantum mirror, has no choice but to reflect that dominant frequency back as tangible circumstances. In the 4th century, during the Council of Nicaea under Constantine, Christian scriptures underwent systematic editing that removed precise, technical instructions on how prayer functions. The modern King James Bible presents John 16:23-24 condensed. "Whatsoever ye shall ask the Father in my name, he will give it you. Ask, and ye shall receive, that your joy may be full." This translation omits exactly the operational method that makes prayer effective. The original Aramaic text, preserved in manuscripts predating the Roman edits, reveals the complete instructions. "All things that you ask straightly and directly from within my name, you shall be given. Until now, you have not done this. Ask without a hidden motive and be surrounded by your answer. Envelop yourself with what you desire so that your joy may be complete." The suppressed phrases, "ask without hidden motive and be surrounded by the answer," contain the operational key. Hidden motive translates from Aramaic as double agenda or divided mind. You cannot simultaneously ask for health while fearing disease. The instruction requires purity of intention, a single emotional frequency without internal contradiction. Being surrounded and enveloping yourself describe complete sensory immersion. The Aramaic language uses terms that literally mean to be inside of or to dwell in. It's not external observation of something desired, but internal habitation of the chosen reality. The difference between observing a house and living in it, between seeing food and tasting it, between imagining warmth and feeling it penetrate the skin. The expression "from within the name" was completely eliminated from modern translations. In the Aramaic context, the name represents the field of infinite potential, what quantum physics calls the field of probabilities before wave function collapse. Asking from within means already vibrating at the frequency of manifestation before it appears physically. The Essene Gospel of Peace, completely suppressed from the official canon, preserves even more explicit instructions. In the moment between inhalation and exhalation, all mysteries are hidden. That moment represents the quantum balance point where all possibilities exist simultaneously. It's the instant where consciousness can imprint a new direction on matter. The 4th century edits coincided with the institutionalization of Christianity as the Roman state religion. Individual manifestation power threatened the emerging hierarchical structure. If each person could directly access divine power through inner technology, priestly mediation would become obsolete. The solution was to transform prayer from technology into supplication, from command into request, from certainty into hope. The Gospel of Thomas, deliberately excluded from the canon, preserves the original teaching. When you make the interior like the exterior, and the exterior like the interior, then you will enter the kingdom. The kingdom isn't a posthumous destination. It's a state of consciousness immediately accessible when internal and external reality synchronize. When what you feel internally corresponds to what you desire externally, manifestation becomes automatic. Suppressed Gnostic texts repeatedly describe the same process with linguistic variations. The Gospel of Philip specifies, "God is a dyer. The good colors, the true ones, dye with the things that have been dyed in them." The metaphor reveals that you must completely dye yourself with the quality of what you desire to manifest. It's not enough to think about prosperity. You must be completely dyed by the frequency of abundance. The Nag Hammadi library, hidden in the 4th century precisely to escape systematic destruction, contains dozens of texts with similar instructions. The Thunder, Perfect Mind declares, I am the incomprehensible silence and the idea of frequent remembrance. Silence is the absence of verbal supplication. Frequent remembrance is the constant maintenance of the chosen feeling. Modern translations also altered crucial verb tenses. Where Aramaic uses present continuous, you are receiving, current versions use future, ye shall receive. This change transfers manifestation from now to some indefinite moment. The original text instructs feeling reception happening at this moment, not waiting for it in the future. The Aramaic word for prayer, slotha, literally means to adjust or to tune, like tuning a musical instrument. It doesn't mean to ask or plead. Later editions replaced this technical concept of frequency, tuning, with concepts of petition and supplication that keep power outside the individual. The impact of these edits was devastating. For 17 centuries, Western humanity has lost access to precise instructions for conscious manifestation. Millions repeat empty words, believing they are prayers, while the real mechanism, feeling gratitude for the answer already present, remains unknown. Supplication replaced command. Hope replaced certainty. Waiting replaced manifestation. The original manuscripts survived because isolated communities, Essenes, Gnostics, Copts, preserved them outside Roman control. Tibetan monks, indigenous shamans, and Sufi mystics maintained parallel oral traditions. All converge on the same instruction: you must become what you wish to experience. Feel as if it's already reality. Emotionally inhabit the result before it appears physically. Neville Goddard rediscovered in the 20th century the identical technical principle preserved in the apocryphal Gospels. In The Power of Awareness, he crystallizes the law. To realize a desire, it is imperative to transform the future dream into present fact through the assumption of the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Neville didn't have access to the Nag Hammadi manuscripts, discovered in 1945. His independent convergence with the ancient texts confirms the existence of a universal mechanics of manifestation. The law of assumption operates through the same mechanism described in the suppressed Aramaic instructions. You assume the feeling of already possessing, not mental visualization, but complete emotional saturation. Neville instructed, fall asleep every night in the emotional state of the desire realized. Feeling is the secret, he repeated, echoing precisely what the Tibetan abbot would reveal decades later to Gregg Braden. The discipline necessary to sustain the feeling of victory while appearances show defeat requires what Neville called faith of the type that moves mountains, the same metaphor Jesus used. Mountains symbolize apparently unchangeable circumstances that yield only when consciousness maintains unified frequency without oscillation. The International Peace Project in the Middle East empirically demonstrated this spiritual technology. During specific windows in 1988, trained groups maintained the feeling of peace already established. They didn't pray asking for peace. They felt it present, complete, vibrating through their bodies. The results were measurable. Violent crime plummeted, accidents decreased drastically, and hospital emergency visits decreased. When the sessions ended and the feeling ceased, violence returned. The derived formula reveals that the square root of 1% of the population maintaining cardiac coherence influences the collective morphogenetic field. The field responds to the critical mass of aligned consciousnesses transmitting the same frequency. When enough hearts vibrate in gratitude for present peace, war becomes impossible in that region. Catherine Ponder documented the same phenomenon through what she called spiritual treatment, the systematic practice of feeling anticipated gratitude for the desired result, not future hope, but present gratitude for something not yet visible. The difference between waiting and thanking represents opposite polarities on the manifestation spectrum. Dr. Joe Dispenza neurologically mapped how the brain doesn't distinguish between experiences lived with sensory intensity and those lived physically. When you sustain gratitude for present healing, the body releases the same neurotransmitters as actual healing. The heart's electromagnetic field transmits the signature of health. Biology obeys the dominant emotional frequency. The convergence between ancient wisdom and contemporary discoveries eliminates coincidences. Essenes, Gnostics, Tibetans, indigenous shamans, and Sufi mystics all preserved fragments of the same technology. The Dead Sea Scrolls instruct, feel the answer before seeing it. The Bhagavad Gita teaches, establish yourself in being before action. The Quran mentions proximity through anticipated gratitude. Every authentic spiritual tradition converged around the same operational principle. You must emotionally become what you wish to experience physically. The quantum field, called Divine Matrix, Akasha, Tao, Great Spirit, operates as a neutral mirror that materializes the dominant emotional frequency without judgment or delay. The definitive question isn't whether this technology works. Controlled experiments, millennial traditions, and contemporary practitioners have confirmed its effectiveness. The question is, what are you transmitting to the field at this moment? Each heartbeat sends an instruction. Each sustained emotion programs the quantum mirror. The ancients consciously mastered this process. The instructions were deliberately hidden, transforming inner technology into empty ritual. But the knowledge survived. In the caves of Qumran, Tibetan monasteries, indigenous sacred circles, and buried Gnostic libraries. Now you possess the complete map. Thought creates the matrix. Emotion provides fuel. United in the heart, they generate the electromagnetic command that creation obeys, not through supplication, but through felt certainty, not asking the universe, but instructing it through the language it recognizes. Cardiac electromagnetic coherence. The field awaits your next transmission. What frequency do you choose to emanate? Lack confirmed through requests, or fullness established through anticipated gratitude? All change begins with understanding your role as co-creator, and the only way to connect with this divine intelligence is through meditation. We've developed a set of audio tools to help you access this higher state of consciousness. To learn more and get immediate access, click the link on the screen or in the comments. If this video resonated with you, write in the comments, "This made sense to me,"